Now let's talk about what happens when you cut away notes to get your pentatonic and how you refer to the patterns, because here's A major and here's L1 and L2, R1, R2, D2, L1. Now I'm cutting away the 7th and I'm cutting away the 4th, and that affects those notes, give the L1, L2, R1, R2 its distinct nature, its distinct flavor. If I'm cutting them away, what do I call these patterns? Because they're no longer left or right, they become something different. We should begin with the very simplest fact in this matter, is that the D2 doesn't change when you cut away. No notes are being removed, therefore nothing is different. However, the patterns above and below that are different, and they're pretty predictable once you've removed their notes. So you have the 5th, the 6th, 7th, 1st, and 2nd, but you're cutting away the 7th, so you are left with another set of a doublet. So you 5th, 6th, 1st, 2nd. So in this case, L1 turns into what I call doublet 3 because it's above doublet 2. There's nothing particularly different about D3 than from D2. They're just for the name and for the sake of sequencing. Now, below that is R2, and this is 2, 3, 4, and the 4th gets cut away, right? So what happens is, this is D2, and beneath that, you're just getting another doublet. So this is doublet 1. I call it D1 or doublet 1 because you cut away the 4th, and because of the stacking of the 3rd and 2nd string, the pattern gets moved over one fret to the right for right-handed players, of course. So I have D1, D2, and D3. Keep this in the context of the scale. So you have in D3 the root for the major, 1, 2, back to 1, 6, 5, 3, 2. Now you have the matter of R1 and L2. What happens here is that their middle notes get cut out. So you actually gut out these patterns, and you're left with a larger, you can call it larger, pattern of 2 notes. So you have, instead of the 1st, 7th, and 6th, you go from 1st to 6th. And same with L2. You go from 5th, 4th, 3rd to 5 and 3. So jumping down from the very top, which we've seen, you have D3, 2, 1, 6, 5, and 3, 2, 1, 6, and then 5, 3. And since the 6th string is the same as the 1st string, you have it down here, 2, 1. And let's move up. D3, and this is what I call a big 1 or a big 2, because they're big patterns. So D3, big 1, big 2, D1, D2, D3. So your pattern is, considering that D3 is one of your roots, D3, B1, B2, D1, D2, and then it repeats, so D3. Now let's talk quickly about the root of the major pentatonic. It is the lowest note of D3. It's also the highest note of B2. So you have D3, B1, B2, and then D1, D2, D3. What you have in the minor pentatonic scale, let's go from 1, 2, 3, 5, 6. This is now the minor root. It is the lowest note of big 2, or B2. 1, 3, 4, 5, 7, 1. So this is the highest note of D2. of doublet 2. So that's how you know. If you're playing it, right? So I'll play this down here. You have the lowest note of B2, D1, D2, D3, big 1, big 2. If I want to play the major, I have D3 as my root, big 1, big 2, D1, D2, D3.